that was dark, but you felt his arms carry you. Think of all of the moments his love was right there. Keep them fresh in your mind, and once the picture is clear, lift your hand in praise. 'Cause he has not changed. Remember his faithfulness. Remember his faithfulness. All he was yesterday, today he'll be the same. He promises nothing less. Though heartache may still remain, he never withholds his grace. Don't ever forget, he hasn't failed yet. Remember his faithfulness.
Good evening. Great to see you. Going to go ahead and start with a hymn this evening, hymn number 173. 173, Love Lifted Me. Let's go ahead and stand. We're going to sing just the first and third. Love Lifted Me again. It's 173. Go ahead and be lifted up, and we'll sing Love Lifted Me. I was sinking deep in sin, far from the peaceful shore, very deeply stained within, sinking to rise no more. But the master of the sea heard my despairing cry. From the waters lifted me, now safe am I. Love lifted me, love lifted me. When nothing else could help, love lifted me. Love lifted me, love lifted me. When nothing else could help, love lifted me. Third verse. Souls in danger, look above. Jesus completely saves. He will lift you by his love out of the angry waves. He's the master of the sea, billows his will obey. He, your Savior, wants to be saved today. Love lifted me, love lifted me. When nothing else could help, love lifted me. Love lifted me, love lifted me. When nothing else could help, love lifted me. Amen. You may be seated.
All right. Good evening. I'm glad you're here, and that is a huge help and encouragement. And I know it's a necessity, but I am excited about tonight and looking forward to not just getting it done, but being able to make this step and take some steps and decisions with you as a church. And I appreciate your faithfulness and being here and being a part of what's going on, and even some that couldn't be here tonight, trying to reach out and wanting to be in touch with what's happening this evening. And so what I'm going to do very quickly is just kind of explain what we're going to do, and then the order of things, and then we're going to work our way through it as quickly as we can, because it is a lot. When the time comes, I'm going to have we'll have several things that we'll need to hand out periodically, and I don't want to give you a ton all at once, just be able to keep things in front of us. But just to be able to get things done quickly and then kind of get to some of the exciting stuff later, we're going to pray in a little bit, and we'll start with looking at our budget and then proposal in regards to our faith promise support, missions, and that kind of thing, and then the election of officers. And we're going to actually do all that first. Part of that is because in years past, we've done that in the end, not for any particular reason, and then people are always asking, what was the result? And I don't know, because I'm not the one counting. And so we're going to try to get that done at the beginning and have some in help with that. That way, that by the end of the meeting tonight in the service, we know everything and everything's clear on that. And then we'll go into the vision night as far as our calendar, reflecting on what God's done. I'm very excited to share those things with you. And then looking ahead to what, Lord willing, for the new year. And I hope you've been praying about this, praying about our church and just your family and what God would have for you for the new year. And excited about that. I really, really am. And so we're going to go ahead and do that. And so I'm going to ask if we would, Brother Robert, I'm going to ask if you would stand and just open us in prayer, sir. And then we'll get started with a motion to begin a business meeting. Amen. All right. Brother Dakota, if you can grab teens and a couple of your teens and help. If we can go ahead and hand all of these out. And I think we should have enough for all church member adults for then. If we need to share some, we can do that. But what's going to come out is the proposed 2026 budget. And we're going to... I'll call for a motion here in just a second to open up with that as we have Suzanne taking some notes, and we'll get going here, but want to make sure we get those out, and then we'll go forward from there. Just all the adults, make sure we got some. Somebody make sure Brother Paul's got one there in the back. So, all right. Okay. All right. If I can, go ahead and ask for a motion for us to begin a business meeting. I have Brother Terry, second from Brother Randall. And so upon that, what you have there in front of you is a proposal. This proposal has been reviewed multiple times and then approved by our Finance Advisory Board, and we'll explain, if some that are newer members, explain some of that later on, but reviewed by them as has been asked of them by the church. And so what you have in front of you is, because of how the year ends and expecting the November, December, we actually have November, but the December reports, because it's just with a week or two away, those are not fully in. But what we did basically is took our January to October, because at the time we were working on this, those are the expenses we had. But January to October, and took the finances of our church and looked at, okay, how much have we spent, how much has come in, and then projected that based on just 2 months that would be left. So that, again, that would be without having November and December reports. And knowing what has come in with those and helping work with some of those reports, I know that what is here, the projection, is not wildly off from what we projected. But as you would look down there, the $144,552 would be what we had spent, and that would be January through October. And then the projected total, so basically the second column over, would be all of those numbers shifted as of what do we think each one of those columns would move in November and December, okay? Some of them you're going to see don't move at all. Some of them are going to move a little bit based on what we had on the church calendar and some expenses of that. And so that second line over, when you go all the way down there to the total of $168,036 would be the projected. So that would be what we project, how we ended as far as expenses for 2025. And then the net income would be down there as far as, or the income that has come in for 2025, the $147,546. And there is one column, because the way it got sent to me, it's just there on the back. But the projected of basically what was left over, what we spent versus what would be have come in around $3,000. And again, that's going to give or take a little bit because we didn't have the last 2 months available when we did this. The third column would be where most of our attention is, not to direct your attention away from those, but your third column is basically an adjusted budget line, and this is the farthest one over to the right, where it says proposed 2026 budget. And that would be what we're putting before you as a church to say, each one of these budget line items, these are what we are projecting as far as that we want to stay within and hopefully under. And some of them obviously use all the way up because that would be great. But these are the adjusted numbers. Some of them don't vary at all. Some of them have been moved, and nearly all of them have been moved a little bit purely just because of the standard when you do an inflation with different things and the just percentages that would go up naturally. We've moved some of those, and I'm going to go over those quickly here in just a little bit. But essentially what we're looking at tonight is that total of $173,400 would be our budget, annual budget, that we would be presenting, that as a church we would say this is what we are putting forth as our expense for this year. And this does not include our faith promise giving to missions, as far as what goes to our missions, and that because that's a separate account category that goes off of our faith promise. This is just our expenses, meaning these are things that based on the regular offerings that would come in, we're basing it off that and not a specific committed number. Whereas for like something like missions or youth camp, we're doing that based off of a committed amount that we're raising or we know that we have. These are things that are based on, Lord willing, the offering that we have, what we're projected to do. A couple things I wanted to draw your attention to in that far right-hand column. Some of them are going to stay pretty close to the same, just a little bit more. And there's some of them, if we didn't move a whole lot, and you think, that's really close. Some of them are ones that we feel like, hey, we can watch it this year and maybe cut some cost and be do better in some areas. But VBS is going to stay about the same. Also, our kitchen ministry, and then our special events and activities. We're leaving that about the same. Actually, that is one that I expect, just because of how we did our church calendar this year, I expect that to actually be lower. But if we shoot under that this year, then that will be great. But we're going to leave that just the same. Our conferences, those, again, would just be expenses that we would use, not what people have come in to pay a registration. The conferences would be, if we're paying gas for that, or when we hosted the ladies' conference, expenses that came in for that the church out of pocket covered. That doesn't cover the things that with the registration fee that would cover. Most all of the conference was covered by the registration fee. So we were able to do a whole lot more. It wasn't that we just spent $326. We were able to do a lot more. That's just what was pulled out of basically the church's savings to make our conferences happen. So that's the reason we left some of that. Our vehicle expenses, leaving some of that there, and that's kind of a little bit in a limbo of obviously with hoping to get a new vehicle this year as far as a church van. I want to draw attention to our special line 5230, the get special speakers and groups. This, I'm not going to try to make this sound confusing. It probably still will be. This doesn't include a lot of our love offerings, but it does include some of them. Most of our love offerings, like when we have our revival speaker, or a lot of our missionaries, anytime we'd say, hey, we're taking a love offering these days, or this service, okay, we would take that, and from that, basically, it turns around and that goes right back to them. And sometimes we give a little bit extra, maybe rounded up or whatever. Myself and the trustees will talk about that. But most of that is coming directly, just purely whatever love offering that you all have decided to give. The expenses here would be if we don't do that, and maybe we have somebody come in and we say, hey, we want to be a blessing to them, and write them a check to be a blessing. That would be a love offering that doesn't directly come in. A lot of the expenses here are revolved around when we have music groups in, any of our missionaries, and we're paying for meals or activities of those kinds of things. Those are our guest speakers and groups, okay? And so that's what that expense would cover. Benevolence, we did have several instances this year as far as helping, and that number always fluctuates a lot. We had a lot more this year as far as different benevolent things that we tried to address. Some years I've seen it where it's been $80 or $100, and then other years it's close to $2,000. And so try to plan the best that we can with that. Outreach and visitation, this is one that, with obviously being wise, this one has steadily grown over the last 3 years, and that's been purposeful. And I hope for it to continue. I would love to devote more and more into this area than others, because this is where we're buying our tracts from. When we did our invite cards for the Christmas, the Dallas Christmas Parade, any of our outreach things that we're doing, that is where that comes from, and that's an area that we've used a lot more in the last several years, and you're going to see why later on this evening. But because of that, I want to put that around $1,000 there. Sound ministry, not going to vary a lot. There is a couple things we would like to potentially replace, but most of that just helps with our general sound needs, batteries, situations, thing like that, and all that going forward. Choir, curriculum, going to stay pretty much the same. Our mortgage has been adjusted purely because of just the annual percentage going up with that. Similar with our insurance as well, those being, and our utilities, two of our three biggest expenses that would be there. Copier lease, it does go up also a little bit every year as well. Office supplies, we did use several this year, and part of that, as we'll see later, was due to things like website design and different things that we've done, but planning to keep that based around the expenses that we ended up using this year, and also as one of our goals personally for Teresa and I in redoing the church office to facilitate some things that'll be a help overall for the whole church. Our accounting services, that would be our Simplified Church and Church Shield. So those take care of helping us generate our reports, also payroll, and that service fee, it does go up a little bit. It's been a while, I think a couple years since they did a bigger upcharge. There will be an annual charge that they do, but we don't know exactly what it will be. We've been told it won't be a giant amount because they're now doing it based off of the church size, church budget. Basically, they customize how much work does it take to do your bookkeeping, how many hours, and then that's, if they do an annual charge, it's off of that versus, I know it may seem like a lot, but we're actually not a very complicated account as far as a church to keep up with. So hoping that won't be much more than what we have generated there. Lawn maintenance, continued that. Our trash, pest control, janitorial services, church maintenance, parsonage. We had several things, as we're going to talk about later, that we were able to do this year. Several things that we'd like to stay on pace and just kind of keep chipping away at the list. The never, as most of you have around your home, around the church, you know there's a never-ending list, just things that just can always be done, and we'd like to just kind of stay on pace and be able to keep chipping away at those. Similar with parsonage maintenance, that would just help with things like repairs, light bulbs, anything work that would general costs that would need to be done to the parsonage buildings themselves. There was an agreed upon by the FAB percentage increase for the salaries and hourly wages, and then also we didn't do any kind of major moving for the payroll taxes or the staff gifts conferences, and then also our other staff expenses, which would be things like Christmas gifts, pastor appreciation, things of that nature. So I know that felt really, really quick, but there's a lot there and a lot to still get to. So again, what we're looking at is that far right-hand column as far as what we would be planning to budget on. I will say up front that this year was very different with different things as far as getting the budget ready. And part of that, as many of you know, last year we did not have an annual business meeting. And that fell on me as far as trying to get things ready and through some complications we had last year. But we did not have that. And so even though we have all of our reporting and know exactly how much we spent, how much came in, we didn't have a budget, like a 2025 budget to go up against. The last time we adopted a budget was in 2024. So this is putting this forward kind of in some new territory here. I expect it will change a lot when we work on the budget this fall, but we kind of had to start with something, and the men worked really hard to put something together that we felt was a good starting place for us as a church. So with that being the case, I'd open up the floor for any questions at this time relating to the proposed 2026 budget. Brother Paul.
Are these last three items supposed to say 2026 on them? 1, 2, and the one on the back? Is this projected? Assuming it says 2025.
Let me double check this real quick. Year-to-date income versus our projected income. You're talking about the difference between the 168.36 and the 171.744? Yes. Projected expenses. Yes, I believe.
Isn't that there because we estimated the last 2 months, so we projected those amounts?
Yeah, what's on the back? That's for November, December.
Yes. So no, those are still supposed to be the 2025 as far as projected, not the 2026.
That's our April figures?
Yes. And yes, as far as the projected income from 2025, if you're looking at that, and then our budgeted projected expenses, that is a pretty within like 2,000 or 3,000 difference. It just is. So it is. We didn't make major shifts in it, and part of that was because what our projected income was for the year, how we finished. We did finish with more coming in than went out, but it wasn't like a ton. It was like potentially 2,000 or 3,000, and that was not knowing what those last 2 months would be. I have another thing I'll say regarding that, but did that answer your question, Brother Paul?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trying to clarify, make sure I agree.
With that being the case, I know that can sometimes look like a really scary margin, like, hey, we had only like a $2,000 or $3,000 difference. Yes, as far as what came in, what immediately went out, but as far as the condition of our savings, and I could share those anytime we would need to, but the FAB has all been aware of that. But the conditions of our savings is extremely healthy, and as far as where we need to be, and didn't have to dip at all into our savings heavily this year, and so which is a huge blessing, and we're able to cover the expenses we need to. There's things we had to do this year that hopefully we don't have to do again, but by and large, we were able to cover, I'll put it that way. We didn't do above and beyond, but we were able to cover the expenses we had for the year. So, any other questions regarding the budget? Brother Randall? Right now, I think if there is a known, because there are some known projects, obviously we've talked about, Brother Robert has helped us point out some of those. There are some projects that need to be done that would definitely be more than that, but until we're at a point where we say we know we're going to do these, which if that was the case, we'd either handle that by putting that before the church affairs, taking an offering separately for that, or agreeing and saying, hey, we're going to pull something out of savings outside of our budget to do that. This would just be, hey, what do we project we're going to do this year? There's some of those bigger projects on the parsonage I would love to tackle, but because we haven't definitively decided these are things that would be paying for the air filters, the light bulbs, if there's plumbing issues that, we had to replace several sinks this year, with handles that came off and things like that. Anything that would be just the regular upkeep and maintenance, not projects that need to be done. If there are projects, what we would do is just present that in the quarterly business meeting. So, but thank you for asking about that. Any others? All right, I'm not going to rush, but if there are not any, I would make sure I'm doing this right, but I would call for a motion to put this forth for a vote, and that would be our pending 2026 budget being the $173, $7,300 and $400 there. That far right column, but put this forth to the church for a vote. If we have a first from Brother Michael Benzel to put that forth, a second from Brother Terry Waldrop. And so as a church, what we'll plan to do is if you are in favor of accepting this as our proposed budget for the year, if you would let that be known by raising your hand. And then all of those opposed, show by the same sign. And none opposed, Ms. Suzanne. All right, and so we'll move forward with that. I appreciate that is necessary. Wanted to let you know one other thing that we need to vote before we get to our election of officers, and that is regarding our faith promise. In light of our commitment, and I'll get to that in a little bit, but in light of our commitment that we had, we were able to comfortably set out aside to where right now our church supports 23 missionaries on a monthly basis, and would continue to do that going forward for the next year. But based on our faith promise commitment that happened when we took in our faith promise cards, we were able to comfortably take on 4 new missionaries, and so which is a huge blessing. And some missionaries have been put forth and agreed upon by the FAB to present to you for your consideration. And so those 4 that we would take on for $50 a month, they'd be effective coming up within the next month cycle. So I think that would actually go through probably starting February from when those checks go forward. But 3 of them were in our missions conference this year. So the Coker family, missionaries to Asia, the M family to South Korea, Brother Miles and Miss Haley Mayer with Seaport Ministries. And I know some of you may remember, and we did discuss this in the FAB, technically they are at full support. But I also know that what he's been doing, some of the responsibilities and things, that's gone up. Not to be weird or presumptive, but they are newly married, and there is always a possibility of a family growing. Not that I am bearing the news for anybody, but should that happen, I would assume that would change their monthly support needs. And so just really was very impressed by them as a couple, and just some ways in which we can continue to invest in that ministry. Yes, we would continue supporting Brother Ken Craich as long as he is serving there. This would just be the addition of the mayors. And then the 4th one that we would add on would be from 2 years ago, would be the Williams family to Honduras, that we had put forth to do. So all 4 of those, the Cokers, the M's, the Williams, and the mayors, that would fit within our Faith Promise annual budget. And I'll share that number in a little bit. But any questions regarding that before I would put it forth for a vote? Any questions? Yes, sir.
Can I ask, how much did we give last year mission?
As far as how much that came in, or how much did we commit?
Yeah.
How much that our commitment was $21,100 that came in. So what we ended up doing is essentially with all of our missionaries at $50 a month that we would do. That left us, and these numbers are going to be rough because I don't have them right in front of me, but that left us with, I think, around 6,000 something that we would have annually to do. So if you took that 4 families, $50 a month for a year, that would cover that and still leave us with around $3,000 uncommitted from our Faith Promise missions. And the FAB felt like that was a really good number rather than just filling that up with missionaries. Part of that is important because you don't always know if all of the Faith Promise commitment comes in annually. And so having that $2,000 to $3,000 cushion to make sure that we still can meet all of those commitments annually is important. So this would fully cover the taking us up now to 27 missionaries, would fully cover that. And then if we did have extra come in, and we look at it by the end of the year, if we had extra come in for missions and we were on pace, we could decide as a church that we wanted to give a Christmas extra to missionaries further, or if there was Brother Dakota was reading a missionary letter and there was a separate standalone need, and hey, somebody's trying to buy a van over, in South Africa or something, we could say, hey, we really feel like as a church, we would like to put that little bit of extra that we have in our Faith Promise towards that. And so that extra would allow us to do something like that instead of budgeting basically every penny that would come in. But to answer your question, that is the amount of the $21,100 that was committed for annual for that. Any other questions, Brother Don? Yes, sir.
Just trying to make sure that I understood. We have 22 that we have been supporting.
23.
Okay, so 23 plus 4. Okay, that's all I need.
Yes, sir. Right. Any other questions regarding the proposal of taking on these 4 missionary families? All right. Would somebody like to put a vote forward? Brother Dakota is the first, Brother Don is second. All in favor of, again, taking on the Cokers, the M's, the Williams, and the Mayers, if you'll let that be shown by hand raise. Any opposed? Would you let that be shown by the same sign? And opposed? All right, fantastic. All right, Brother Dakota, I have next thing we're going to go ahead and put forth here. And if one of you guys could actually run this out to, actually, never mind, I need to do that. All right, next thing we're going to do would be the annual election of our officers. And what the men are going to be passing out now is the ballot, and that shows current officers, those that are stepping down or rolling off of their 3-year rotation, and then those that are would be voting on. And I'll explain that in just a second once everybody has that, and then we'll put that forth as a vote. Many of you have heard that the term Finance Advisory Board, and or FAB as it's been called, and that is historically, I'm not sure what year that went into place, but has been a board of 7 individuals, and that varied, but typically would include deacons, standing deacons, and then also elected trustees, and then the pastor. And so 6 individuals and myself that would help and do those things. The number as far as how many trustees to how many deacons, that's changed as far as the needs of deacons that we've had. Trustees, those would serve on, agree to a 3-year term, and then roll off. Deacons would serve until either asking to step off or just would agree that, hey, they can't help continue to serve in this way going forward. And so our current deacons, and this is information just obviously you as a church need to know, but our current serving deacons are Brother Terry Waldrop and Brother Don Joyner. Brother Matt McLean has served very faithfully, but has asked recently just and due to personal reasons, there's nothing bad, but just asked to step down from that role. And so because of that, and even that's the reason there's a deacon opening there, and part of that is there's a need this year with some plans that I have for the deacons. Essentially, I'm putting them to extra work this year. And so, but there's a reason for that. Brother Oberosa still has 1 more year left on his term. And again, last year with our business meetings, a lot of this got really messed up with the terms. Brother Randall Shear has served his 3-year rotation, and this should be the year that he rolls off, opening up another. And then our church treasurer situation. And as hard, this is very difficult, it just is. And I hate that, but it's necessary. And a lot of things have been pushed off, put down the road as much as we can, and not wanting to be callous about it, but it's just necessary and necessary going forward. And but with Brother Michael Rankin's passing, and that just did a phenomenal job the years that he served, and just some very special things, and did his very, very best, and tried to accommodate with that. And even in some of his later years, and I'm not sharing anything that's personal or private. These are things Miss April and I have talked about. But in some of his last months, even when things were really difficult, worked really hard to try to put forth an effort. And part of that, even though he probably could have handed that off to somebody else, maybe should have, but just had personally shared and said, hey, this is a way I really feel like I can serve the church, and I can't do much right now. And tried really hard, the best that he could. But that is a need, and so the church treasurer would also be one of our trustees that would serve, and obviously the duties and responsibilities of helping with our business meetings and our reporting and managing some of our things. And then Miss Suzanne also has been a huge help. It's gone by really, really fast, but this year would also be her rolling off as church clerk. And so below, there are nominations for all of these. Now, because Independent Baptist, it's not a dictatorship, these are not people that you have to vote on, which is why there's always another. These are people, though, that have been asked, first off, would you be willing to? Have prayed about it. If you, for some reason, don't feel like you can, then don't. But these are not, you have to vote for these people. These are just people that would be nominated, put forth for you as a church to consider and to vote on. What I would ask you to do is to go ahead and circle right down that bottom half that you have there. And then if you would, go ahead and fold those just in half for me. Do not sign your name or anything on there. Please don't do that. This works just like general elections. But if you will fold those in half once you have voted, and then Brother Randall Shear and one of our other men are going to help us out. I think Brother Dennis are going to help and take care of that. But if you will do that, if somebody needs something to write with, I meant to, that was the one thing I did not bring in. But if somebody needs something to write with real quick, I'll have somebody run a pen around. But what we'll plan to do is just throw those in an offering plate. And circle your nomination, if that is your nomination, or if they are not, then you can either leave it blank or write in another name. So, but just circle if that is your, if the nomination is the one you would choose, and then fold those in half, and then we'll go ahead and put those forward. Brother Randall, if you want to go ahead and grab this, sir, and then just work your way back. And once you have those, and if you would like to, be able to put those forward, and then they will take care of those going forward. All right. One of the things I wanted to mention with that, and it has been this way. I talked with some of our men. It's been this way for a while. Specifically some of our offices, our church offices. One of the things that is one of our goals this year, and with our plans for business meetings, would be by the end of the year to propose a updated bylaws. And the reason for that is not because they're horrible or anything, but they just haven't been updated in a long time. And there's certain roles, for example, what we would know as the role of treasurer is really an actual morphing of two different, both Secretary of Finances and Treasurer, that have been put together, and that all happened historically with different things that happened in the church in years past. But some other things that just need to be updated, both just in things that don't need to be there anymore, some clarifying of some language. There's some stuff that would just be wise as far as to review, and even from a legal standpoint, to make some adjustments, and that we're planning to do. And so with that being the case, just want you to kind of have a heads of that this year, that at some point we are planning to present. And again, we're not redrafting new ones. It would simply be just making updates that we need to, and going forward with that. So I appreciate your faithfulness in that. Double check to see before we go into, and we're doing great on our time, before we head into our Vision Night announcements, if there are any other agendas or questions related to church finances. Ms. Sharon.
Not finances, but for missionaries, could we get a printout of all the missionaries that we support now?
Yes, ma'am.
Because I can't keep up with them.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, I can do that. If you will remind me, if you'll make a note of it, I have that on file, and I'll email it to you, and you can make copies and hand it out on Sunday night if you'll just make a note. All right. If there are not any others related to this, then I would call for a motion to officially close our business meeting. First from Brother Terry, second from Brother Michael Benzel. All in favor of closing the business meeting part of this, if you will hold up your hand. I never really have to push for this. And then if you are opposed and you would really like to keep a business meeting going, if you will hold up your hand. Okay. All right, none opposed. I appreciate that. And like I said, that's a huge help just to move forward. All right. Next thing we're going to go ahead and do is work into our vision night, and excited about these different things. Brother Dakota got the big boy stack now for you guys to hand out to people. And if these are our church calendars. If you as a couple or a family say we don't both need one, if you both would like one, there's plenty. We did that. If you say we only need one, then just hold up one, and then we'll put extras in the foyers for people to take. But they're going to hand out our church calendars, and we're going to go over some exciting stuff here pretty quickly. But if you would have those. So, thank you, sir. Good job. All right. All right. It's been a joy. I hope that if you've been joining us with our church theme series that we've done last fall, we've got one more we're going to do, but our church theme over striving together. And as was mentioned, we're going to keep that theme going into the year. Just feel like it's very where we need to be. But I want to read that verse, Philippians 1:27. Only let your conversation be as becometh the gospel of Christ, that whether I come and see you or else be absent, I may hear of your affairs, that ye stand fast in one spirit, with one mind, striving together for the faith of the gospel. And as we go forward, the things that we're projecting to do, the things looking back on this year, wanting to stay within that and let that kind of be our help, our guide this year. And I hope that series has been a help. It's been a help to me just to clarify some things leadership-wise, and looking forward to that, and looking forward to keeping that theme going this year. You have before you our 2026 calendar, and as has been mentioned, this is not every single detailed thing. So if you may hear an announcement, but this is going to be a majority of it that you would see and know ahead of time. And so, yes, you have a calendar, and you have it. Everybody you need to look at your phones, okay? Today is January 7th, all right? You have that. And so if there comes a date and you say, well, I just didn't know about this. January 7th. You had a calendar, okay? I'm only going to say that one time because I can't say it any more times with a Christian spirit, okay? All right. You had one, okay? All right, so most of these are going to be repeats of things. Some of them have simply shifted months, and we'll explain why. A few new things. One of the things that you may notice is as Teresa and I were praying about the year last fall and working on this September, October, as we were praying about this, we were thankful for all God did this last year, and I'm excited to go over that in a second. But also just felt like for the coming year, needed to create some windows of just breaks. And it's very easy to fill up every weekend or every week with things, and those are good, and plan things, let's get all the men together, or let's get all the ladies together, and those are good, and we've done that. But one of the things that we really were burdened about was just not just creating periods of rest, but also creating times in light of our theme that we as a church can kind of take on some initiative and do some things together that maybe aren't scheduled. For example, it create time to where, hey, if you want to have one or two families over, our calendar's not so busy that you can't do that. And be able to create times to where, hey, some of the things that we've done and we've practiced through church activities where, hey, we're trying to get everybody together, get all the couples together, get all the men together. Those are good, and we're not going to abandon those, but wanted to kind of open up a year where, hey, if somebody puts it on their heart and they say, I'd like to have all the ladies together, or I'd like to have a couple of families over, I would encourage Maybe it sounds like a lot, but it's actually very doable. I can tell you personally. Maybe just say, hey, we would like to invest or do something with one family from the church one time a month. Or maybe if you say that's too much, do one every other month, okay? You'll be drawn closer to people in your church than you were without doing that. And so part of it is kind of a backtrack a little bit of some of our calendar with the busyness and without taking away things, but that's the reason for it. So all of I'm not going to repeat them every time, but as you look at January, our outreach, unless there's a reason, is going to be our church-wide outreach would be the last Saturday. We are planning to still do our weekly outreach just for anybody that would like to go. But our church-wide outreach with kind of special emphasis on the last Saturday, senior fellowships being on the third Friday of the month. But you got a youth activity, and then one thing, we'll do kind of a ministry spotlight of this in a couple weeks. But the Lord really blessed, I felt like, when we started Man Up Club last year. It was our first year giving it a start, and prayed about it. Brother Randall and I prayed about it and really felt like, because the whole thought was not lock this in if it doesn't work, but we really felt like God used it and it was worth continuing again. And so we're going to keep doing that every other month going forward. And so that is going to be pretty light January. February, we've got a teen rally. And then one of the things you'll notice, last year we moved our revival into April. Okay, now, and I told you as church, that was definitely for personal reasons because we had a baby arriving in our house in February. And so that was not a good time to have revival. And so we bumped it there. But we're going to put that back in February and lighten up April a little bit, because with having revival and Easter Sunday, it worked. You did well with it, but it was very busy. And so we're going to put our late winter revival back in February. Excited about that this year. And I have my parents in, Ken and Nancy Newport, this year, and going to do the exact same style we did last year, where we have two services or a regular service on Wednesday, Thursday night. Friday night, we're going to do a couples banquet and a marriage session. And then Saturday, there will be a parenting family session with a lunch and a Q&A. And then Sunday school, men and ladies session separated, and then morning service. And then we'll do a 5 o'clock split session, ladies and men. And then a come together and end it on Sunday. So the 18th through the 22nd will be our revival there, and that's the primary thing there in February. Looking at March, we are do our Friend Day the first Sunday in March, and the Lord's really blessed that the last few years. But as we look ahead to that, that's going to be kind of our focus going into March. One thing I want to mention is there on the 28th of March, we have made tentative plans. All parties have agreed. But on the Saturday, the 28th, pending weather and all that, we just have noticed through ladies' retreats and other things, just the Lord's really began to open doors with fellowship with other like-minded churches, and been a help and encouragement to us, to them. And so on the 28th, we're going to actually host and have Meadow Lake Baptist Church. For those of you ladies, this is Miss Kay's church. We're the speaker of the ladies' conference. Some of our men have spoken over there at some of their meetings before when Brother Walton was having some health issues, but over there on Three Notch. But a sister church, we're going to have them, and then also Cloverleaf Baptist Church. And they have a new pastor, Brother David Forbes. I'm excited with him and his family, but going to have those two churches join us, and we're going to kind of do just an outdoor picnic style deal. It's not going to be a church versus church. It's going to be a pickup style, because they're kind of in the same boat we are. And they thought, when we asked them out, they said, do we have to put a team together? I don't know about that. And I said, no, because we're not going to put a team together. So it's just going to be a lot of fun, and basically a chance for us to get to fellowship with other brothers and sisters in Christ, and for us to get to host that. And I'm excited about it. I really do. I think it'll be a help and a blessing, and some other people that I've gotten to meet that I've been an encouragement to me. And I think they'll be an encouragement to you too. And so, and it helps. Sometimes it's not a competition thing. Sometimes it's an encouragement to know, hey, we're not the only group of people trying to do the right thing in this town. That's an encouragement, because sometimes it can feel very overwhelming. And knowing, hey, there's other groups of people that are they're still preaching the gospel. They're still faithful about trying to, support missions and preach the gospel. And it's an encouragement. And so, but that's going to be on the 28th. I'm looking forward to that going forward. I'm not going to do all the regular repeating ones. One of the things that you are going to notice is we do have our business meetings, our quarterly business meetings on calendar. And we are going to do our dead level best to stay with those. We're going to keep those on Wednesdays and try this out. This is a trial thing. Somebody may say, Brother Stephen, I absolutely hated the Wednesday business meeting. All you can do is try something. We felt like with a lot of different things, it will work well. So we're going to give that a trial this year and move that instead of trying to do those on Sunday nights, but do those on Wednesdays. We're going on the April the 23rd. We're going to say more about this as we get close to it. But you see there on that Thursday, Seaport mission trip. This is a really cool opportunity. I've coordinated this with Brother Miles and Brother Ken Craich. But essentially, we're going to take a group of people, and it is limited because it's obviously with port access and how many people they can get in. But they do a service. It's called Pizza and Praise, but where they'll have people come in and they get the sailors to come, to the sailor house, and they'll feed them pizza, and then they'll provide special music and preach to them. And just felt like as we're finding ways, mission opportunities for our church, that this was a good opportunity. And so as we get closer, we'll start kind of gathering interest who would like to be a part of that. And the hope would be we can take a handful of our church down there, and we're going to provide the pizza for them. We're going to provide special music. I don't know if we'll do the teaching or not, but basically jump in there and help them run a service for the sailors there at the port. And I'm super excited about that. I really think the Lord's going to bless that. And as you remember Brother Miles talking about just all the countries that are represented that come in there, and what an opportunity. You say, well, what if I don't speak the language? Even if you don't, you can still sing along and shake hands and smile and all those kinds of things, and just be an encouragement. And so I'm excited for that. And like I said, kind of a city-side mission trip that we've got planned there in April to do. May, let me double check everything here. We're going to keep our schedule for VBS as far as the prep and everything like that for the week of. Obviously, the prep for that is going to start much earlier, but as far as the decorating setup, our prayer meeting, Vacation Bible School as you turn to June is that first week of June. And then for teens, there will be a camp meeting looking ahead to July, and an activity that will be there in July. We've got youth camp. That's Wednesday after youth camp. We've had it normally before, but we actually know it now. But on the 15th, that Wednesday night, we're going to have a music group from Heartland Baptist Bible College. We've had them in before. But we're going to have some special music and get to play volleyball together and kind of just do a midweek fellowship and have a night of music and fun. But I'm excited about that on Wednesday the 15th. In August, some of our regular scheduled things, you'll notice that we are starting missions conference again, kind of end of August, 1st of September. So our missions conference will start on Sunday the 30th and then run into September the 2nd. And then we're also going to be hosting the preachers meeting again. We'll do that in September as we did last year. For the men, we are planning to do our that men's conference again over in Pensacola that we did, and just felt like with a few adjustments as far as the travel and everything, but beyond that, I just felt like that was a huge blessing to the men that went over there, and so we're going to plan to go over there and do that again. But that will be on September the 26th. And then in October, most everything is the same other than our fall festival will be on Sunday the 11th. And so normally there in normally we would have it there in the end of October anyway. Those of you with teens, pay very close attention. I haven't been mentioning it, but all the teen activities that are planned, if you'll notice, kind of a description of those teen activities is there. I'm super excited. It's like a super epic lineup of youth activities, and so I may have to join in on some of these. So November, jump to this, ladies, we're planning to do the ladies conference on the November 13th and 14th. Lord willing, we are planning to host that here again, as we did before, and just felt like the Lord blessed and used that. And so we're going to do the ladies conference there in November, just as we did last year. On the 22nd, everybody see that? We're going to do a special service there called Book of Life Sunday. And it's not original with our church. There's other churches that have done it. I grew up at a church that would do this. But basically have an opportunity to invite. And that Sunday, and both with music and then in preaching, and very, very gospel-centered, but focus on the subject of the Book of Life, the Lamb's Book of Life. And say there's a lot of mystery. There is some, but really it's a pretty straightforward. There's either names that are in or there are names that are not. And the Bible tells us names that are in and names that are not, and why they are in or why they're not. And so I'm excited to get to preach on that. An encouraging Sunday, and even for those that are lost and maybe don't know about their eternity, it's going to be a good Sunday to be there. So hope that you will be a part of that, and just again, kind of another opportunity as far as to invite lost family and friends to be a part of that day. As far as December, everything else is going to. We have our Christmas decoration day. We are going to do a Christmas fellowship, and instead of trying to do the whole party thing, do a fellowship on a Sunday evening on the 6th. We're going to, Lord willing, do the Dawes Christmas Parade again. We've got our caroling scheduled in there, and the only major change is that instead of doing Christmas at Crossroads, which would include our candlelight service and cantata, instead of doing that on the Sunday before Christmas, we're actually going to do that on Christmas Eve itself. Just give it a try this year, and if it's a total bust, then we won't do it again. But it has been interesting to me, and even this year talking with people in the community, of people actually looking for a service to go to on Christmas Eve. And maybe if that's an opportunity to invite more people to come and hear the gospel, then we'll do that. And so instead of having a Wednesday service, we'll have a Christmas Eve service, and that will include our choir and candlelight and all that kind of stuff. So that is all of that going forward. All right, let me go over a couple things really quickly, Brother Paul, and we'll go through this. Not very complicated this year. We're not offering a ton, but some of you are going to be very excited about this because we have been asked about this multiple years. There are some sign-up sheets in the back. We've got a handful of churchyard signs if you would like them. And so if you would like those, you can put your name back there and an amount. The hats, we're just going to offer the same ones we've got, or if you want to do a custom one, the pricing there, but do that. And then this year, instead of doing the whole printouts and all that stuff, we've had several people ask for embroidered shirts. So I meant to bring some of the, some people have asked for a very long time. But instead of, I meant to bring some examples of it, but polos, any of regular things. So here's how we're going to do this, okay? I'm going to try to do my best to explain this. My wife is not in here, so I'm going to do my very best, okay? All right, so here's how this is going to work. In the back, you can write your name, and then if you write how many. The cost to do that is actually only $10 per shirt to do the embroidery work. But what we're going to do, instead of going out and picking out polos and all this different stuff, is this. You go and you buy your own shirts, okay? You buy whatever you would like that is embroidered. So if you want a button-up, if you want a regular polo, if you like a cotton polo, if you like a dry-fit polo, if you are a pocket guy, if you're like, throw up at pocket guys, okay, I don't really care, all right? You buy the shirt, so you go find a shirt that you'd like, and again, it would have that embroidered Crossroads Baptist Church logo on it, and if that's something that you would like, the plan would be to have those ready, and then and the shirts turned in by the end of the month. And again, that would be $10 per shirt. But if you would like one, again, like I said, and it could be a T-shirt that maybe has it embroidered on. I don't care. But rather than doing the iron-ons, we're just going to offer the embroidering this year because that's been something that's been asked for by and large. So hopefully that will help appease the masses regarding embroideries there. All right, I want to go over this real quickly. Just being mindful, and most that are here are very faithfully involved, but sometimes just being mindful of what's happening regularly, ways to be involved. Just be in prayer. And if you are already involved in these or can't be for some reason, be in prayer for them, because all of these, there's ways in which to serve at our church. There's definitely not a lack. But our nursery ministry, our bus ministry, children's church, getting in on a rotation and helping with that. I want to encourage you regarding our Saturday door knocking to go out each Saturday and to door knock, and then our monthly outreach. But being a part of that, that's a huge impact of our church and something God's used. If God chooses to impress upon your heart about senior adult ministry, I'd encourage you to contact the joiners and be a help with the monthly fellowships and things like that. Or we always need more help as far as rotation in the sound ministry, okay? People that can maybe set in a service or even once a month. And you say, I really don't want to be back there all the time. But Brother Paul doesn't want to be back there all the time, okay? And so maybe you could just figure out, and I know it looks more complicated than it is, but I'm just going to tell you as a not techie guy, the general running of a service, especially Wednesday nights, it's not complicated at all. And we have people that can help. And so if that's something that you feel like, hey, I'd like to be available to do that. Our lawn care ministry is always a just every year need. And we have people that can't do it in recurring years. And so there's people that need to be added to help with the teams. So if you're planning to help with that and or haven't and would like to, talk to Brother Terry about that, as we'll have that schedule coming out soon. Be a part of choir or our music ministry, whether that's choir or special music. Talk to Brother Michael about that. If you're not involved or would like to be, and you say, I will sing as long as I don't have to sing by myself. I'm pretty sure he could find somebody to pair you up with to sing with, and we can figure that out. And maybe you say, well, I love the music ministry. I want to be involved, but I cannot sing. Well, there is actually a very practical need. There are a lot of people that are in the choir that have children, and trying to maintain their children for an hour during choir practice is hard to focus and get a good practice in. So maybe you can come and just keep an eye on the kids on the playground or in the nursery or something. And there's some that help with that, but there's a lot of kids in our church. And that's a way you can invest in the music ministry, and you never once sing a note. And so just be a part of that, okay? Man Up Club, I would encourage us as men. You did a great job last year, but I want us to see us turn out even better this year. Faithfully coming to those Tuesday night meetings, being a part, being in contact with Brother Randall. One of the things that we talked about this year is asking some of our men to specifically kind of host and run some of those, and skills and abilities that you have that you'd be willing to share with the young men in our church. And so be a part of that. It's an incredible opportunity to invest in the next year. All right. Exciting stuff. We'll try to build this to where it keeps getting more and more exciting. 2025 report. That is really, really small on that screen. I didn't realize it was that small. So I'm going to try to do my best reading it. It's small on that screen. You ought to see it on the screen back there. That is really, really small. All right. So basically, this is things that God did and praises for the year. You feel like sometimes the year flew by and you're like, well, it was another year. I'm just here to tell you, when you stop and think about it, the Lord was very good to us and blessed in an incredible way. Obviously, a huge thing, the roof, the $40,000 loan roof, was able to be paid off in the spring. And that is just a huge blessing and praise to where we don't have to worry about that. That was so cool this year to plan a budget and not to see that on the budget line was just amazing. And so that's incredible. Just exciting, and praise the Lord about that. As been mentioned, our faith promise commitment of $20,000, and I did find the number, $20,000 or $20,100 annually that allows us to take on 4 new missionaries is exciting. There's repairs. Some of you may have noticed because you serve in those areas. Some of you may have not known and think it's easy just to notice maybe the parts of the building that you only walk past and you haven't been around other parts. But there's been a lot of work done this year. And one of our biggest things that happened, which if you don't know, you either don't have kids or you're not serving in that ministry. So you got to pick one and do one of those two. All right, so either have kids or get involved. Those are the only two options, okay? All right, but a lot of nursery repairs that happened. Some of y'all think that's weird. Y'all are getting real sleepy on me, so I'm trying to make this happen, okay? All right, but we had several repairs that need to happen. We had a giant gaping hole where water had come through in a leak for years, and Brother Robert and others had helped with getting the ceiling completely patched and textured and painted over from the leak. We also were able to replace the nursing area with doors and a fan in there instead of a curtain that the kids could yank around, and just some other things. There was some repainting that got done. The windows, they were basing the windows where they were falling, and a lot of them rotted out, and the windows were Brother Robert completely redid those. We also were able to do the tinting. I have been made aware for some of you ladies about the whole thing, like you can't see out at night. We're working on that, but the main reason for the tinting that we got was because it gets stinking hot in there in the summer. And so we got a level of tinting on those windows that majorly helps put down the amount of sun and heat that comes in there in those windows. And so a lot of work that was put into that. There's been other upgrades. There's been several people. Brother Dennis has been a huge help this year, and those that have privately donated to it. But we've been slowly but surely working on changing over all of our main lights to LED. If you remember years ago when you'd come through in half the building, the lights didn't turn on whenever it was really wet and muggy. The switching over to LED has helped, but those are really expensive, and so we kind of progressively do that. And there's still some more to do, but a lot of those got done this year. And so if lights turn on great and don't flicker, that's because work has been done, okay? But thankful for that, that was able to get done. If you didn't notice, from the kitchen, we purchased an ice machine this year. And I'm excited about that, and excited just for the ways in which that's going to help with some of our different things. Several roof leaks that were able to be finally diagnosed and stopped, and I'm very thankful for those. Sunday school rooms that were redone. Our new website, had somebody tell me today, hey, I looked at it, and it's great. And I encourage you to, but that's been a very long time in coming. Most of, not all, but most of the people that walk through on a Sunday morning or Sunday night, visitors, the first way that they find us is by looking us up online. And so just being able to have a good and just clean and good representing website is a huge help, and thankful we were able to get that done. And that I cannot really, other than a few editing and decision making, most of that goes to Miss Tabitha that we asked to do that, and then my fantastic wife that worked months on getting information loaded to get that all done. And that was a most of the year project to get that done. And so thankful we got that. I had 2 successful trips over to Beams over in Mississippi, and I don't know the number that we did. My wife asked me, and I remember asking Brother Scott, but hundreds of Bibles I do know that we were able to help pack and get ready for being shipped overseas, and just really cool opportunity to be able to do that for that year. And so the Lord bless that. I want to have a couple men come show something really cool to you guys. I know we're past time, but we're getting close to the end here. All right, I need Eli and Tristan. You guys to come over here real quick. Most of you have heard every week when Brother Dakota mentions our weekly door knocking, or our church-wide outreach that we will do. And I will say the Lord is blessed, and even just with a handful of men that would be able to go out every week. Over the last 2 years, and there's others that have been, neighborhoods that have been reached, some of these multiple times, more neighborhoods that have been reached through just VBS canvassing, but just within the last 2 years, the part of our city that we have been able to go and physically knock on a door. And sometimes that gets to talk to people, sometimes you just get to leave something. But we'll have a map, and we're hoping to display this in a part of the church that we can constantly update. But I'm going to actually have you guys kind of hold this up midway up here and hold it up just a little bit higher. Do our very, very best. Don't cover that up. And it's a little hard. I know there's a lot of squiggly lines there. But in the red, all of the red is what the Lord has allowed us to cover in the last 2 years in our city. And this green area little green dot right there, that is our church. And so Brother Paul has done a great job with helping us scope out the city and try to reach our surrounding area. We're currently working up here off of Airport in a pretty big neighborhood and trying to swoop down. But these are all areas that we've touched and been a part of those, and have had people that have come because of that, had people that have gotten saved and baptized because of that. And I just encourage you, this is not to be critical, because I'm very thankful, and if the Lord wants us to keep doing it this way, we will. The Lord has blessed us with just a handful of people each week. If that number were to double, even every other week, I can't even begin to think about how much we could cover. And the wild part about this, Brother Paul and I have been talking and strategizing about this, is that even when we cover kind of the area that we're planning to do, here in about a year or two, we have so many brand new developments around our church, brand new neighborhoods, that by the time in 2 years, if we cover the rest that we're planning to, and it's time to start back over, there will be hundreds of new homes in the same area that are built right around our church within 10 minutes or less of places for us to need to go. And it is a very practical, tangible way to be a part of reaching our city. And I personally believe that's one of the primary reasons why Crossroads Baptist Church is here, is for this. And the Lord is blessed. It's become a problem where I get behind on ordering tracts because, I'll order, over 2,500 at a time and have to do that multiple times in a year. And that's a good problem to have. And those are people, those are homes that we're able to do. And just want to be able to share that more so just as a praise of what God's been able to do. And whether you've been helping to give towards that, when you see that as far as our budget line, that's where that's being poured into. And that's where that's going. And how many people have heard the gospel, read the gospel, I don't know. But that's an exciting thing. And just kind of wanted to share that. I'll have them leave that. If you guys want to just set that right up there against the remembrance table, leave that there for you to look at. And if you have any questions, you can talk to Brother Paul about that. Last thing I wanted to mention was this last year, to the glory of God, they had 5 baptisms, people that followed the Lord in baptism, 4 church memberships, and then through youth camp, vacation Bible school, our door knocking, and then even just children's ministry. One of them came from Sunday school and children's ministry on a Sunday morning, but 5 people that made a profession of faith this year. And that's just exciting. That's exciting stuff. And again, it's very easy to get lost in a year and let all of that just go over your head. And instead of understanding and just being able to reflect on what God's done and just say thank you, Lord, that God's blessed us in a huge way with that. So the last thing I was going to share was just some goals, things that we're praying about, planning to do. These aren't everything that we're planning to do, but just some big ones and things for you to be praying about, of some things that we kind of like to target this year. We did not get it done. Again, we had other goals that we got done over the year, but putting my foot down on it this year to finish painting the outside of the auditorium, the auditorium walls. We'd done the front and the front foyers, but needing to paint the sides, the windows, and all those kinds of things. But planning to do that this year, and that's going to take time and work. One of the things some of you may have wondered about our building project, and we haven't forgotten about that. When we have one to propose, we will vote on that as a church. We talked about some things, but the FAB wasn't comfortable with some of the things just that we wanted to do, and there were other things we felt like we needed to do. And one of the most pressing was figuring out our property drainage solution. Most of you know that our parking lot is in a rough way, and part of the reason it is because of the water flow. And there's also not just a parking lot that suffers from that, but also whenever we have a really bad rainy season, our church sewage and everything, the septic system really takes a hit because of different water standing. And if you've been around here in VBS and some other stuff, it gets really hard. And part of that is just the way in which our property is, how the church sits, where the low spots are. And so one of the things that we had really talked about and got some quotes on were resurfacing or repairing the parking lot. But one of the things that the FAB had wisely advised was, hey, before we put all that money into that or pray about that, we really need to get our drainage situation figured out as far as, is there a way that we can divert the water and help with some different things? And so I have some men that are working towards that. If you know of anything, you can feel free to talk to me about that. But we're in the middle of doing that and feel like that, and that's going to take work, that's going to take money to do that, but that's the first step, and then going on to the parking lot and some of our other things, septic system, other things that we need to address down the road. So that's there. One of the things I would like to do, and if the Lord puts this particular, come talk to me about it, and we'll get it done, is to get our front foyer area just repainted. We're not going to do a remodel, but due to VBS decoration and other things, there's holes that need to be filled, and the whole front foyer and even that side room needs to be repainted. That we need to do. I would really like, I have some ideas, but I'd really like for us to redo our missions displays, update them. And so somebody that is really creative with boards and everything would like to be able to do that and just have that kind of as a fresh look when you enter the building. And so that's one of the things that we're planning to do. Do you have a question about that, Brother Robert?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I need to fix that front door, get it all back where it's supposed to be for painting. But
The door?
yeah, the door got a lot of work.
Yes, sir. Well, and I'm talking about the inside. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But yes, you're correct about that. But just that inside foyer area where some of the paint's gone. We are still praying and figuring out our situation for a new vehicle. And then we would also like to, it may or may not happen this year, but it's kind of that time from the last time, all of our hallways, basically anywhere that's painted dark gray, we would like to just put a fresh paint coat on that. Nothing crazy, but it is work. And take that a little bit at the time. And so those are just some things that we're praying about, kind of looking towards the year to possibly get done. So that is everything that I had for this evening. I want to make mention, Miss Suzanne, if you want to just put this in to those notes for this evening as a final deal there. And then if you'll remind me, we need to get a couple of signatures tonight on your notes as well. But just to report, tonight there were 22 votes that came in and 22 unanimous votes for the nominations that were put in. And so praise the Lord about that. And so all those that were nominated would be going forward in those places of serving. And so excited about that. All right. That took long, did not take as long as I was thinking it was going to. So I know that was a lot tonight, but excited. And I hope you've been encouraged as well of some things. And I'm sure there's more questions going forward. We'll pray and then get out of here. I appreciate your kind patience on everything this evening and looking forward to getting started with everything this year and how the Lord's going to use that. Don't forget, if you are planning to sign up for any of the church merch stuff, specifically the shirts, how many you're thinking, if we can get those done a number within the next couple weeks. I know people would have to still go out and buy, but kind of a number that you're thinking, that would really help us to kind of know how many we're dealing with there. But the sign up for that is there in the front foyer. So let's pray, and then we'll get out of here. Father, I love you tonight. Lord, thank you for the blessing. Lord, I thank you for just a great spirit that's here tonight. And God, just your answer to prayer and many things. And Lord, just giving direction, Lord, on things that have been prayed about for months. And Lord, giving leadership and counsel, Lord, about these different things. I thank you for taking care of our church. Lord, there's many needs and things to think about and do, but God, you've been so good to our church. You blessed, Lord, not just in physical needs, God, but you have continued to allow us to make a spiritual impact, Lord, and the fact that you would choose us to do that, Lord, is humbling and exciting, God, just to be a part of that. And I'm excited, Lord, for the year. Lord, just what you have for us as you continue to work in our hearts and move us, Lord, show us how we can strive together God, I'm excited to see, Lord, what we can do for the kingdom of God this year. And I really am. And believe, Lord, there's some great things you have for us in 2026. Thank you, Lord, again for just blessing tonight. We love you. In your name I pray. Amen. You are dismissed.